Good afternoon, everyone. We are here with two faces that are probably familiar with you because we've already had one other webinar with these two lovely people. We have Umang and Dinara from Londonist. I'm going to ask them to do a brief introduction with regards to their role, and they'll also be giving us a brief introduction with regards to the company. So for those who missed the previous webinar, you will also get up to speed with regards to what they do. And then we'll jump into our conversation. So guys, I'll leave it up to you. Let us know what you do, who you are, and what your role is at Londonist.
Please, Dinara, go ahead.
Ladies first.
Thanks very much for inviting us today, Lynn, for the webinar. It's nice to see you again. We are very happy to participate and to see this development. So I'm a Russian sales area manager. My name is Dinara. So for more than 7 years, Londonist has been arranging student accommodation. And at the moment, we are happy to guide through questions and any inquiries they have during this COVID times. And we will be happy to speak about post-COVID and give some highlights.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Lynn, and again, thank you for the opportunity. It's great seeing you again. My name is Umang, I'm head of sales here at Londonist, and as Dina said, Londonist, we're a student accommodation agency. For those that don't know, we've been operating since 2013, and we have short-term and also long-term accommodation for students across London. And in our last webinar, we did mention we've actually recently expanded to Dublin as well. So we cover all of London, so from Cross all the way down to Greenwich, and we've been working with agencies, schools, and also students from around the world. And over the last 3 years, London has made some amazing developments. So we've opened our office in Turkey, and we've also opened our office in Shanghai. And despite COVID hit many companies, I'm happy to say that our office is still up and running in Turkey. It's still up and running in Shanghai. And previous to our last webinar, you can see we're in our London office now, so we're happy to be back in the office.
Okay, great. We're also very happy to see you back. Last time you were both from your personal residences, and now, as I just commented before we started, you're in a lovely meeting room in your offices in London, right? Yeah. Yes. Okay, so basically, this is what we're going to be speaking about, and I think it will be interesting for everyone, schools, agents, and also other service providers, to hear what you have to say, because we are going to be, in fact, speaking about accommodation, safety measures, what Londonist is doing to make sure that everyone is safe, considering the new changes that we are all seeing now, that hopefully we're beginning, as we're calling it, to see a little bit of light, maybe at the end of the tunnel. So let's jump into that. I know that one of the topics that everyone is considering is student well-being, international student well-being. So can you tell us a little bit about what you are doing in terms of this subject? How are you making sure that student well-being is being maintained?
Yes, sure. First of all, our residencies remain open during these times. And we managed to exercise good hygiene and COVID-safe practices across all our residences in our portfolio. So we've been monitoring government advice, we've been following government regulations, and thanks to our operations team and just fantastic on-site teams, we were able to ensure safety and well-being of our students staying in our residences during these times. And of course, there are some measures that we all we have undertaken during this time. Okay. So one is sanitize areas, cleaning regime. We have a traffic flow system, which in our residences. So whether, for example, students are moving around the residence to ensure there's a smooth process, and if, for example, they're going up, they're keeping left. We have segregated. Segregated seat plans. So some of our residences have catering on site. So we make sure we have segregated the places for students to ensure social distancing during this time. And of course, we've been also monitoring, we've been in constant touch with our students. We had such measures as our QR code we install in every residence. So whenever they have a question, student can just scan QR code, and that's quite helpful and that great tool for students. They don't have to go to reception. They can just attach pictures. And, yes, and our operations team will be happy to react instantly.
Okay, yeah, I think technology has in fact played a very important part during this time, and I know that you are always quite advanced when it comes to technology, making sure that you're keeping students comfortable, and I think this was a very important aspect during this time. So apart from student well-being, obviously everyone was worried, and rightly so, with regards to how are we going to cope with business during COVID-19. So from your end, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you did at Londonist to cope with this situation, with this current pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, Lynn, correct. I mean, like, as we processed, I mean, since that last webinar, I think the world and things in London actually changed quite a lot, quite interestingly, you know. Actually, I mean, I was looking back at the last webinar and what we spoke about, things have really changed. So in terms of business, you know, we've actually really picked up for the next academic year. Obviously, in our first webinar, we did speak about online blended learning. You know, a lot of the universities are doing partial online and then in-person kind of teaching. And then all of the feedback we have from our agents and the students is that they don't really prefer this kind of blended learning, you know. Of course, it's needed for safety because you can't pack, you know, a seminar with 100 students, but all of the students want that experience. So for me personally, I mean, I studied abroad and, you know, you really want to make friends, you know, you can't make friends online, you know, really, you need that person contact. And going back to that student well-being, you know, in terms of business, Lynn, what happened is, I know Dina touched on the hygiene points, you know, like extra cleanings, QR codes. Well, at Londonist, because obviously we're looking at the bigger picture, our kind of unique part of our company is that obviously our nature with the students. So what we found during the lockdown and even now, many students struggled mentally, you know, mental health is so important, you know, so in terms of student well-being, it's not just about, you know, is it cleaning, it's also about mental health, you know, physical health. So a big part for it is like all of our residences have, you know, like facilities like gyms. So now with the government guidelines, the gyms have opened. So what they've done is they have a booking process. So if they want to use the gyms, they would basically need to book an appointment on their mobile phone and they'll be able to use a gym.
Okay. That to link a little. I think it's also very important. Flexibility is also very important, especially when students have traveled and they might need to go back to their country. So with regards to flexibility in terms of student accommodation, can you give us a little bit of insight as to how Londonists managed to be flexible during maybe a not so flexible time?
I mean, in terms of the flexibility, I mean, our usual stays were 2 weeks up to 51 weeks. And then during this COVID period, we actually reduced to 1 week. So we did accept 1 week stays. And then as we mentioned in the previous webinar, a lot of students left to their countries, right? Before lockdown hit in the UK, everyone left. And what happened then? They left their belongings in their room. So they left their countries, they left their stuff in their room. And then what we did at Londonist, we managed to extend their routes, because obviously we understand, I mean, if you're in China or if you're in Italy or wherever you may be, you can't physically come back to London, right? So obviously our company, our first port of call was to call every single student. So I'm happy to say at Londonist, we managed to call every single one of our students. So we touched base with every single student via call and asked them what was the situation. So then we did actually introduce a few new offers, and we still got some amazing offers for students. Such as 50% discount across all residences. And then we've got some new offers for the new academic year, which Dina will also touch on, which is really, so Lynn, what happened, I mean, we're looking at students, but we're also looking at families, Most of the families are obviously supporting their children. And a lot of families lost their jobs, and a lot of people can't pay these prices now. So at Londonist, we understand this. So we've actually kind of, given extra incentives, like more installments. So normally we wouldn't give like say 5, 6 installments. We've given more installments to help students make their payments. And then the extra offers, I mean, Dina would also touch on extra offers we've in place
as Umang said, we made this flexibility, and actually this is unprecedented times when students can benefit from all the offers, like a 6 installment plan. We also amended our cancellation policy, so we give a 4-week notice to students, and in case there's a change in course duration, we can adapt the booking accordingly. So we offer this kind of flexibility, so students can have peace of mind while booking during this. And we also understand, as Umang mentioned, affordability is quite an issue at the moment. So we reduce 50%, and in some cases more than 50%. So communication was key during this time, and especially with the agents. We are trying to incentivize agents. We are trying to give them incentives to return back to dynamic market. So during this time, these 2 points are important: flexibility and communication.
Yeah, Lynn, I mean, because we're in touch with all that as well, right? I mean, like you've met us in Berlin, and we've got a massive database and network of agents, and then what they're telling us is that our students want to book, but I mean they don't have that flexibility. So on our, I mean, like for example, if their uni gets deferred, we're happy to move those dates, and that really gives that agent and the student that confidence. Okay, if my course changes, I'm not stuck into a contract where I can't have that flexibility. So really now the main point is the flexibility,
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, I think another important aspect apart from technology, which we mentioned earlier on during these, I think the importance of working hand in hand, because it's not just you as Londonist or every business working individually, we all work together. And I think this point was very much highlighted during these times. So I think although it was a relatively negative time, I think there was a lot of positivity because it made people communicate better, if nothing else, I think. And with regards to the offers that you mentioned, for those watching us, I am typing in the email address. So if you'd like to know more about the offers or how your students can benefit from these offers, you can contact Umang or Dinara or anyone from the team at sales@londonist.co.uk, so you can get in touch and they'll explain in further detail. Now, apart from looking at what you've done so far, obviously we're all looking at a brighter future. So plans ahead, adopting to changes in the UK, maybe you can brief us a little bit with regards to what the changes in the UK are and how Londonist is adapting to these changes.
Yeah, I mean, Lynn, we've got a really smart system. So our CRM system is actually built in-house. And Lynn, as you may know, I mean, there's so many changes and it's so dynamic now, right? Everything's changing on a daily basis. So some countries can come to the UK, but they may need to quarantine. Some countries can come to the UK and they don't need to quarantine. So what we found is that obviously we've got a massive intake now at the end of August. So what we've done in our system is that countries that need to quarantine, they can be placed in, because a lot of students ask us, right, if they're having, we've got studios and ensuite rooms, right? So if they're sharing an ensuite, if they're sharing a kitchen, they're asking us, if I'm coming from Spain and I don't need to quarantine, and I've got a student from a different country that needs to quarantine, how will the matrix and dynamics of that work? So what our system does is it kind of manages who needs to quarantine in one block, and then the other block will be coupled with another student. And also, Lynn, what we're doing now is that even though you've got your private room and your private bathroom, obviously you're sharing the kitchen. So they're going to be having hand sanitizers before you enter the kitchen and still wear the face mask, because you've got to respect other people's space. Some people don't mind without a face mask, but some people from different countries are very cautious and wary of this, So these kind of measures are changing, going in the future. Obviously, the whole world has changed, right? But especially in the accommodation sector where you're meeting people every day, you're sharing spaces like kitchens. So on our side, we found a massive change, and then we're really abiding not just by the government guidelines, but we're also extremely innovative in what we do. So we're introducing new things that are game changers for the markets. I see Nicola just said hello to me and Dina, so I just want to say a big thank you to you.
Yeah, absolutely. As Umang mentioned, we tried to also give this kind of flexibility, and we tried also offer this self-quarantine. So basically, we offer at the moment 2 weeks free for any student booking for long term. this is not only for students who have to self-quarantine, but also those who are booking for long-term. So this also helps them ease this financial burden at the moment. And also what we actually can see from the inquiries we receive and from ELT industry, students are more interested in short-term stay. More interested not to share a kitchen. And in our residences, it's also easier to exercise control and safeguards, and we provide rooms with private shower room. So this all that Londonist can provide and offer from 2 weeks onwards with the flexible contracts.
Okay, that's great, and I think it also offers a lot of peace of mind, because yes, ultimately we know and we're seeing pictures of schools maintaining social distancing, but as you're saying, when it comes to lessons, you go in, you go out, and that's it. You're not sharing too much personal space. But when it comes to accommodation, you have your belongings, you're going to be taking them with you everywhere. So it's very important that you stick to all the hygiene and the protocols, and to have your own protocols as well. So one final thing which I'd like to hear from both of you, maybe just an overall message with regards to the industry, anything positive that you've taken from this time, just a nice message maybe to end this webinar with, or words of encouragement that could help other businesses like yours in our industry.
Yeah, I think, Lynn, I mean, from my side, I think I'm a really positive person anyway. So I think in times of negativity, you always got to look at the positive side. You know, I think you've always touched on it. And I think here in London, having been born in London and lived in my life, I think the situation is under control. And like I said, I mean, we always talk about hygiene, quarantine, face masks, but at Londonist, we're trying to make the process as normal and usual as possible for the students. You know, obviously it's on everyone's mind, you know, naturally, subconsciously it's on your mind about coronavirus, but we want students to have the best experience in London. So we want to put all the measures in our place, so student experience, being in touch with the students, student zones, having a network with students, so like creating a student bubble where they feel safe, and also have that kind of experience basically. My message is, please come to London, and I mean, obviously we're abiding by all the guidelines, but we really want students to have that experience, and then people to look forward to the future now, is my kind of message. You know, let's look forward to the future. Let's have a great end to 2020, and hopefully, I mean, not just for Londonists, but hopefully that everything will be back on track.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely sides of what's happening as well. I mean, we became closer with our agents, and since communication was key during this time, and we hope to return to a more dynamic, more fast-paced market. And this is why we are supporting each other. And it's great to have this community. It's great that we can have this broadcast today as well to deliver our message, because what we actually see at the moment, they've been hesitant and they need practical advice, and agents as well. This is why we are here to help them and support in their academic path and in their future aspirations. And of course, I mean, whenever they have any questions, we will try to offer this flexibility.
Okay, that's great. Both very positive messages, and I hope that those watching us will take on some of the ideas or some of the positivity that you have brought to this webinar today. As I said, if anyone has any questions, you can always get in touch with us at Schools and Agents directly, and then we'll put you in touch with the people at Londonist, or you can also use the email address that I posted underneath the webinar, so you can contact Londonist and they can share their offers, and even if you have questions to safety protocols. So guys, thanks a lot for taking your time to join me on this webinar. Thanks a lot for your messages and for your ideas. And I really, really hope that the next time we see each other, it will be face-to-face. I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, Lynn. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.